Inside the Huddle with Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Fires a pass, and it's intercepted by the Huskers at the 25, Jay Foreman. And Foreman takes it down to the 19-yard line of Oklahoma. Another big play by the Blackshirts.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Sponsored by Advanced Medical Imaging.
Coming at you live down here with the Salt Dogs. It is hot and heavy here on this Friday, but we are always bringing the heat. We are always bringing the heat. We are brought to you by the Mercado Certified Piedmontese Special Ingredients Butcher Shop, 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, 85th and Andermatt / Old Cheney, and 168th and Maple up there in the Metro, Greater Omaha area. As we're watching the Sioux Falls Canaries warm up here. A lot of sleeves cut off, Austin. Obviously trying to get the gun show going, but obviously you get a little bit of relief from the heat. It's about 94 degrees, about 90% humidity. There is a heat advisory, but that's only because we are bringing the heat right now up here in this booth.
So it's probably, about 105 on the field across the way? 110?
It's 110. Okay. It's 110 because, you know what's funny is that we used to, linebackers, we do this thing in Buffalo, what time, what time is it? And we always say 110, right? It's because I came up 110, 55 times 2.
I like it.
And so me and Keith.
Even numbers, baby.
Yeah, so it's 110 in here. It is feeling about 110. But a lot going on. Obviously, recap the first 2 hours of old school. Obviously, got a big time commitment to Torrey Pittman. Coming in as a 5-star recruit, so that's good. For Nebraska, it kind of pumps a little bit of life into the program. Obviously, he's not going to be on campus for a couple of years, but I think it's obviously a good feeling as you're in the middle of two-a-days and about 10 days away from game time, going into the weekend. It's also, it shows that the staff and the recruiting staff is always working. Look, I think, just to talk about recruiting, obviously high school season's coming up here pretty soon. We'll be on the call for a few games, and they got a lot of really good players and great players that are going to be coming up in the future. Getting a commitment from a kid 2 years out is probably a little bit harder than getting a guy in the regular season. Because a guy like Pittman has probably been some places unofficially, a lot of offers and a lot of promises. And obviously Nebraska probably, had the leg up and should have the leg up as the hometown team. But I think also there's pressure to get him and get a lot of players, based on the profile, but also the proximity. And then more importantly, to keep his attention, get him to commit, which he never had to commit. He can say, you know what, I'm not committing to, before my junior year or before my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see you next year, because he could have plenty of teams that whoever his final 8 or whatever it was would have waited. But I think he felt like there's time to commit, and that way he can get it over with and just focus on being the best he can be the next.
Must have liked that offer sheet that got slid his way.
Can guys in 27 get him too?
Oh, maybe it is just seniors.
Yeah, I don't know.
But in that case, maybe got a sneak peek.
Yeah, sneak peek, and that's probably part of it. I mean, the business is the business, and the revenue sharing and stuff like that. You got to have an idea, and also I will say this: you can't just give them the Gators numbers where they say, "Hey, this is what we're going to pay you," and then you get there not so fast, because before his senior year, if it's only seniors, or before his last year in high school, you have to see it, and that's somewhat that you can keep, obviously, but then also. You don't want to be known as a school that you're sending out fake numbers and fake offers, and then obviously other schools would be, obviously step in and pounce on it. So,
is it more damaging to give out false numbers or give out lower numbers?
Well, false, because lower numbers you can always negotiate up. I mean, and you never know what can change. I mean, you got to think about, just imagine Kansas's numbers if they didn't get the $300 million influx of money, and Kansas goes into another big bowl game. And they want to get the number one guy in Kansas and say he's a 5-star. Well, maybe they can only, let's just say they only could offer 100,000 then. Well, now they can only offer 5. The game changes.
Yeah.
Right? Now that's lower. It's lower than the other team, Kansas State, say that, at that point in time. But when you did what Florida has done, which takes a lot of time to clean up, and then, you had a little bit of a downturn in teams, and then you get obliterated by Miami last year on national TV. It takes a really big effort to write that season, and then obviously you're able to keep your coach, and then obviously you want to make sure your NIL department is good. For Florida's sake, right? It goes even further. the basketball teams wins the national championship, but the head coach got some issues. So
he got cleared.
Yeah,
that's
he got
dismissed. Cleared. Yeah,
but it's all encompassing at Florida. But it starts with the fake offers or whatever you want to call it, and then look at Florida State. The promises by Hamilton. They had a team revolt. It's whether what you can do. So you got to really have your offers and what you're going to pay guys. I'd rather get an offer that's below whatever somebody else that's a true offer, so I can really evaluate it, because Ohio State probably feels, and Bama used to be like this probably, or will be still feel like this in Georgia. We can offer you 10% lower, depending on who you are, because we're going to get you ready for the NFL, and you're going to make that up.
But it's the winner's discount versus the loser's tax,
right? And so
it goes both ways, because you think about Ohio State, Bama, Georgia, schools like that. In a lot of cases, probably can pay more, and they do have to flex that muscle sometimes. But the other side of that coin is sometimes they can get away with paying less because, like you said, we will put you in the NFL or give you every opportunity to make it to the NFL, get drafted, and you'll make it up later. And that we're going to go after more good players. So if you take 10% off the top, if 10 of you do, hey, there's an extra good player that's going to make your life easier.
Right, and it's not a lot. And plus also, the Ohio State, at least last year, they put a lot of money into guys that are coming back. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Penn State's trying to do that this year. And so you get the winners, luxury tax per se, and then you have the losers like overpay tax. And, I saw that up close and personal in Houston. But that's where you have to really stick to your guns, know that you're able to offer a fair market price. And that's probably what happened with Pittman. But more importantly, you got him to commit. And then I think Trey Taylor's in that class too, right? And so you get 2 5-stars right off the rip, right? Am I correct with that? And so now you feel like, okay, we got, a 5-star on offense, 5-star on defense, and, our recruiting efforts and what they've been trying to build towards has been working. Now, I think that is, it gets a power boost based on Nebraska, being able to make a bowl game and obviously look like a better team. And then you got Dylan Raiola, which makes it easier for other 5-stars to potentially look at Nebraska and commit. So, look, it's twofold. You got to continue to be a good team, and you got to show improvement, but then also you got to keep putting maximum effort into recruiting. So, as it sits right now, Nebraska, should feel really good about where they're at and getting a commitment from Mr. Pittman.
Absolutely. It's an in-state guy with all sorts of talent that you lock down early. Now the challenge is, how do you keep it? Because we've seen Nebraska, Jay, maybe not get commits this early because that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But Nebraska has been in on a lot of guys pretty early that, for whatever reason, have ended up backing out of that commitment. I don't think it's anything that Nebraska's done wrong necessarily.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not Nebraska running them out, running them off. It could be financially motivated.
Yeah.
It could be maybe a bigger promise that may or may not be true from another school. But Nebraska has had players of Troy Pittman's caliber committed, or at least coming on official visits.
And I think the dynamics are different. I'm not trying to put lipstick on a pig, but I think the dynamics are different. Number one, revenue sharing wasn't around. Yes, NIL was around, but not to that magnitude. Nebraska, that was the first year, I think, of Matt Rule with Lacey and those guys, right? Especially from Texas. And then, it was an easy sell for the opposing teams to come in and clip them, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, Lacey went to Missouri, then Missouri to Ole Miss, and so, but it was easier, right? Because they were all those programs that were able to go get those guys were in a little bit better place than Nebraska. That's not essentially the case right now, where Nebraska's at, or where it's perceived to be Nebraska's at. You also got to look at I look at the whole landscape of college football. If everything's equal and I can stay home, why do I need to go to, let's say, a Mississippi State or Kentucky or something like that? Nebraska, brand-wise, will give you more. And obviously, with it being the only show in town, the long-term benefits outweigh the short-term benefits at other places. I think also, how do you keep a guy, right? I don't think it'd be that hard, because I think that as hard as the coaching staff has worked to get him to work, is hard to keep him. Mm-hmm. Now, look, if somebody comes in and offers him like 3 or 4 times what Nebraska's offering or can offer him, then you can't be mad at him. You're like, dude, you gotta go get that money. Now, I don't think all of a sudden they got him committed that they're not gonna have him on campus or do whatever. I think they're gonna probably work in conjunction with him so he's more ready to play.
By the time he gets to campus.
So that you set a plan for him and keep an eye on him, and obviously have some, checkpoints they'd like to see him do. And he's probably looking at Nebraska. He wants to see consistent improvement. Sure, other teams are still going to call him. That's just name of the game. And so I don't think I think it's a different dynamics, and that's just part of recruiting. You can recruit guys, ask them to commit, they commit, keep re-recruiting them. And if they decided to decommit and you've done everything you can in order to keep them, you really can't be as emotionally attached to it as what before.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, even before, it was kind of funny to me to see people get so invested in the decisions of 18, 19-year-olds, 17, 18, 19-year-olds who, know how to make decisions, but not always to that degree, which is why I always have had a bit of an appreciation for people who are willing to get down into the weeds and talk to these 17, 18, 19-year-olds to pick their brains. I could also never do it. That's why even just as a fan, man, that's a lot to get invested in. Put all your hopes and dreams on this kid you've never met, likely will never meet, just for them to change their mind at the drop of a hat. Yeah, pardon me if I'm not going to get too invested in their opinion right away.
No, I mean, look, and you got to remember, you guys aren't these guys' friends. Like, they're players, and I get it. You want them to come because it's great. You feel like Nebraska's the place to be, and I feel like it's that as well. They change your mind, and it sucks, but I'm not going to be mad at him and stuff. And in this day and age of recruiting, very rarely do you see guys stay at some place for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, Nebraska's been able to retain their guys, and hopefully that holds true. But I'm going to tell you what, Nebraska does what Nebraska should do this year. There's going to be a lot of teams trying to pluck their players. And that's just part of the game. It sucks. You had guys, coaches calling players, and Matt Rule spoke about it. There's probably a good – I think the coaches, there's a code of ethics, probably.
Yeah.
So – it's just part of the game now, man. I mean, these kids, you got to – I think everybody's on – even if the contracts are a couple years, you got to know. You got to coach these kids and the team guys that are on your team are on the team and committed to being here as hard as you can as long as they're here. And not that you don't want to say, all right, you're not going to be on a team, good riddance. You're still going to probably – because if you're a coach – I think if you're a coach, you still – understand they're making a decision. It hasn't anything to do with them, and you still genuinely want the best for them.
And you hope that if it's personal, they would have come and talked to you before.
Right.
But if it's business, it's business. And you got to be able to separate the two, where maybe this is now the coaches have favorites, but coaches have favorites, right? Kids that they connect with a little bit more, that took a special interest in their recruiting, that they appreciate more for something on or off the field. As long as it's not, coach, I felt disrespected by this, or one of your assistants said this, it made it personal, so I'm leaving. I would guess 80% of the time, 75, 80% of the time, it is just business. It's not necessarily personal. This was wrong. This was bad. It's, I think this over here is going to be better.
Right. And it's, now it's like the players are making these decisions no different than these coaches that used to be able to do that. Because, I remember, hearing about and I know that the timing of when coaches leave and they have to, get through recruiting and stuff like that. But you heard about guys that had no idea coach got a job.
Yeah.
On signing day, the next day he's gone. So I think it's just part of the constant free agency. You can leave, at the end of the season, you can leave after spring. And who knows if you can leave in between then. And so I think, you just got to always, I think I always talked about this. I think it was maybe Frost or something. I don't know. I mean, who cares? But I was like, what I think it was them and their staff. It's like you have to understand that you constantly have to re-recruit. Maybe not re-recruit your roster. You got to have a good pulse on your players.
Yeah.
And you have to do that. And you got to have people around you that's willing to talk them off the edge or, be a good sounding board for them. And that's why it's so important to have staff, former players or whatever that want the best, that are, I wouldn't say always positive, but you want positive, but you want to make sure that they have the, the best intentions. You can't put a price tag on that because a conversation, okay, here's an example, right? So let's just take this team out of it. Let's take the 90s out of it. Let's talk about Ndamukong Suh. This is what I know for a fact. The two things I think that really turned around his career. One, Bo Pelini, coming back and challenging him. And then number two, it's on record and it's factual that Jason Peter took a hands-on effort with kind of getting him to the mindset of where he was out there and obviously was totally different.
Yeah.
If Jason's not around and willing and to go do it, then there's not an endowment, I won't say there's not an endowment suit, but it's a part of it. Even more recent, Jason, is a friend and like a mentor or whatever you want to call it to Ty. And so this part of that deal. So it's part of re-recruiting your roster. It's part of like re-recruiting your commits. Heck, you got them committed. You got to re-recruit them, and then you get them committed. Then you got to re-recruit them still. This is a long time.
I'd be curious to know, too, just how much of it is truly re-recruiting a guy where he wants his options open. His circle is telling him he needs to put his options open versus just the players looking for, does coach know my name?
Yeah,
he's still invested in me as a person because there's no excuse for a coach, to not have some level of relationship with those players. 105 is a lot.
Yeah, I think re-recruiting is probably the wrong.
But I'm saying there's some cases of that where that
sure.
might be true, where there are those guys that want more money, that will enter the transfer portal, think that they're all that, think they can get a better deal somewhere else. And then, yes, in some cases, it is like you have to go through the recruiting process again in, hey, this is what we like about you. This is what we anticipate our system being. Here's how we see you fitting. Here's our plan for your development, right? You have to have some of those conversations every offseason, right? And that's a legitimate, valid part of the job that coaches may not like, and I'm sure fans don't like because, if you signed your letter of intent, you're getting your scholarship, you knew this was the plan going in, unless there's been a drastic change to the plan, why would you want to transfer all of a sudden? Versus if there's a guy who's, coach is going to know the starters, right? Probably the two deep for the most part. But if you're a borderline backup, you're a third string, you're a special teams guy, and coach doesn't know your name, I can understand how that wouldn't be a place you would want to be, right? Even if coach doesn't like have a personal relationship with you, you'd like to think that, if I walk into my office, coach is going to know who I am, have an idea of what I want to talk to him about. If you're the program where you don't feel that way, I can understand you wanting to leave. So if a coach has to talk to that type of player, that to me isn't re-recruiting. That's just doing your job.
Yeah, I think the re-recruiting probably is more when guys jump in the portal because they're hearing so much nonsense, and then and some of it might be true, and so then you gotta, hey, this is where we envision for you. Sometimes there might be like you jump in the portal and say I'm a linebacker and they just have a down year and they need, tons of teams need linebackers. Well, all of a sudden I go from a guy that's barely walking and chew gum to an asset that everybody wants. And so I think it's a case-by-case basis. I don't necessarily think it's always re-recruiting. It might be reassuring, but then also I think it's more or less just having some clear communication with all your players and know where they're standing. So it's a case-by-case basis. I think it boils down to always having a good pulse on your team. And when you got to re-recruit guys, you got to do it. And sometimes you got to – some guys like their back rub. Some guys need to constantly be told that how great they are and you got big plans for them, and that's fine. And some guys you just need to know you respect my work. Some guys need to know what the future bolds for them and how can they get there.
Some guys need a kick in the butt.
Some guys need a kick in the butt. Some guys need a combination of everything based on the day of the week. And so – that's part of the being a coach. That has nothing to do with X's and O's, and that's whether assistant coach, analyst, in a position coach, or whatever else you got on staff. And so it's a constant goal line that's always being moved, but I don't think it's anything that you go and say, okay, we got the commitment, and you sit there and on pins and needles like, oh, we're going to lose the dude. I think at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in is like, I don't like hope. I like belief, because hope, I think, is by chance. You know what I'm saying? Like,
belief makes you feel like you can build to something, like you can work towards
something that comes from work.
Yeah, hope is something that, if it works out, great. If not, it's out of my control. And that's not a healthy place to be as an athlete.
Me walking down there and swinging at that pitch, coming out of that pitch machine, I hope I hit. But the belief is, if we lined up on that dirt and I got pads on, I believe I'm going to make the stop. And that comes from the work that I know that I put in. And so,
would you watch baseball if it was played in football pads?
I don't know. Yeah. It'd be hard for dudes to hit home runs.
It would be, but you'd have more collisions at second base. On home plate.
All I need is to watch Albert Bell. That's all I need.
Your boy Albert Bell?
Yeah. So, I think when you're recruiting, man, and you're building a program, it's a 24/7, 365 job, man. and that's just what you get. That's what you get paid the big bucks for, or big bucks for.
Mm-hmm.
And then also that's why the players get paid the big bucks no matter what the age is.
Right.
So don't come into college thinking you're a freshman and you're getting an adult paycheck. You are an adult. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're just on a crash course and you don't get to have the college life, but that's the reason why you got NIL and revenue sharing and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and ways to make money. And you got collectives. I mean, that's the way it is. It's where we're at. It's professional sports, and the guys that act like professionals generally end up, doing the best.
Mm-hmm.
So, another thing real quick, when you think about recruiting now, and here's where it's funny, is like you have to piece yourself into 3 sections: preseason, the season, and then recruiting is all season.
It's the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's an old saying that I remember that I learned when I signed it was either my second or third contract, right? And they're all decent, or whatever, or at least I was happy with it. It was like my dad told me and my uncle told me this. He's like, as you go up another level, there comes another devil. And that means is I'm the same Jay Foreman. You're going up another level. There's another devil. And it's not a bad thing, is that you are different, so you have to deal with different stuff, but you got to remain the same holistically and foundation-wise, because now you're going to have more. And the devil could be, okay, you went from honorable mention all conference, second team all conference, and then you probably got a little bit of a pay bump. Okay, well, now you're going to be maybe have more obligations, well, I would say be in the newspaper, but now it's like on the stuff that, right? So that's the other devil. Can you time manage 15% more time that's being taken away from you? You got to create that 15%. And so that's another thing that people need to understand about recruiting.
On top of the devil have probably raised expectations. You made a jump from a level on the all-conference team. Guess what?
Now
We're
you need to be an All-American, and you got to be a first-round pick. Well, a lot of that's predicated on my other 104 guys on the team, too. So, anyways, a lot going on. Football this weekend as far as preseason football, so I'm hyped up about that. We'll talk a little NFL news. Jay Foreman, my main man, Austin Norman, live down here at Salt Dogs. Old School, we'll be right back.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales,
Claim yours right
compliance,
now.
operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week and attractive benefits package and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at PAHLincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, their passion for happier, healthier, furry friends. Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
Imagine starting your day with a computer glitch that leaves you feeling stuck, frustrated, and unable to get your work done. You have 1,000,001 things to get done today, and waiting for the tech issue to solve itself isn't one of them. It's time to let Hamilton handle the tech so you don't have to. We help businesses across the state spend more time on what they do best and less time frustrated with office technology. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we're focused on providing custom solutions that set you up for success now and in the future. Connect with us today at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
At Fairway Meat Market, your family. And as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Now through August 17th, enjoy 6-ounce bacon-wrapped filet mignon for $9.99 each. Bulk bacon $4.99 per pound. And a 2-day sale on Friday and Saturday, including 10-pound tubes of 85% ground beef at $4.99 per pound. And a 4-pound box of snow crab clusters for $49.99. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
Every home is different. Every family is different.
So when it's time for a new heating and cooling system, why not get what fits you best? Get the perfect fit with Bryant. Maybe you need higher efficiency, better humidity control, increased warranty, or all the bells and whistles. Bryant provides options in warranty, features, comfort, and efficiency while maximizing savings. Call Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing, 467-1111, or visit BryantLincoln.com. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Ready to score big with your projects? Look no further than Edward Stone, the MVP of natural stone for over 2 decades. Edward Stone is cranking out over 30,000 square feet every week and offers a winning lineup of over 70 quality natural veneer stone selections. Their unbeatable variety and experienced team will ensure your project is a success, whether it's a home renovation or a commercial build. And hey, they're not just about stone. They've got an all-star lineup of fireplaces, cast stone, brick, and much more. Swing by one of their locations in Lincoln or Omaha today and experience the Edward Stone difference, your reliable choice for over 20 years.
Back to Inside the Huddle, sponsored by Advanced Medical Imaging. Here is your host, Jay Foreman.
Calm before the storm. The heat before the beatdown. Obviously live in effect here. It's interesting, Austin. I was watching the first baseman. He was not happy with his fielding warm up. So it might be. He might. That's a. Was it? Is it E9? Is that number 1 or E1?
E1 is the pitcher.
What's the E9? What's the first baseman?
What is it, Jay?
I don't
Let's
know.
work away.
1?
It is not 1.
9?
It's not 9.
Oh, well, then I don't
It's
care.
3.
Well, then it's E3 on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So what's 2?
Catcher.
Yeah, okay, 3. Okay, I got you.
Second base is 4. Third base is 5. Shortstop is 6. And
I
that's
got
left
you.
to right, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. He is definitely E3 in the making. But it's the NFL preseason games kicking off again tonight. The second game for Cam Ward and company. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders is being out. And obviously the saga with the Dallas Cowboys continued. And with only very few preseason, now you're going to see some cuts. And this is what I'll probably talk about a little bit more, right? Is that the reality of some of these young players are going to potentially never play football again or potentially be in the free agency pool trying to find a job. But more importantly, if you think of a team, we'll talk about the AFC South, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? This is an important preseason rest, a training camp for them in a huge year for them. Yes, they have Cohen, the new head coach, but you got to think this is a make or break year for Trevor Lawrence, right? This is probably a contract year for ETN. He probably won't be back. This is a really prove-it year for Thomas offensively. I think defensively, the two ends have shown that they're well worth the money. They have an explosive, quick linebacker in Lloyd, but he has to – this is a contract year for him. It's really interesting as this preseason goes. Everybody's like, oh, it's preseason, and they know who's going to start. No, this is – the NFL has changed a lot in the sense of you go to training camp generally with – it used to be you go with the training camp, 95% of your roster already picked. My agent told me this when I played. I think it's slowly become a lesser number because you're always trying to find that diamond in the rough and the consistency in the difference in between, let's just say, the 43rd player, and say from the 43rd player that you thought down to your 60th, right? Because you got to think your top 40 plus 3 specialists are probably set. There's so much continuity. Somebody's got to separate themselves. It's a lot of chance. And then obviously who's the preseason story per team lends well to that. And that's how you build a team. Your bottom of your roster is going to help you make a big jump in a make or break year for teams like Jacksonville, for a team like obviously Indianapolis or a team like the Cardinals or somebody like that. That's why this preseason is so interesting. And then on the flip side, you got a team like the Kansas City Chiefs that are trying to find some inspiration to get back to where they feel like is owed to them. That's a different Kansas City training camp than they've had in a very, very long time. Even when they lost to Patriots at home and they Patriots end up winning the Super Bowl, it's like, okay, we still have time.
Well, that's the first one. That was the first crack. Yeah.
But they were able to rebound. But back then, you say we still have time. Our window is wide open.
Yeah.
That window is closed drastically. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. You don't have Hill. You don't know what's up with Rice. Will he really be back because he missed last year?
Mm-hmm.
Will Worthy be able to play all 17 games?
And be effective.
And be effective, right? Within the system. Hollywood. And then this is probably the last run or two with year or two. Travis Kelce's not going to play no more than 2 years. But let's just say this is his last year. And then defensively, are we really, what's up? Is Chris Jones? He's going to want to uptick. You just played Karlaftis. Is the continuity there?
McDuffie's coming up.
McDuffie's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, back to offensively, you have, I think his number's 24. He's was supposed to be their slot guy. He hasn't.
Sky Moore.
He hasn't. He's done stuff, but then he's hurt. Pacheco. Do we need to really start investing in running backs or always try to find the diamonds in the rough late in the draft? The NFL, the news cycle of the NFL, the stories will ramp up by Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's really interesting this preseason, the next two preseason games. You'll understand a little bit more of where Cam Ward is, Drake May is, the Patriots, all these teams that are trying to get back up into be more in relative versus a team like the Commanders. Are they for real? And is Jaden Daniels going to be that guy that continues to light the league up? And then on the sneak, you got the Baltimore Ravens just chilling, trying to win a Super Bowl.
It's going to be really interesting to monitor some of those storylines because in terms of the rosters that you think are pretty set at the top of the sport, you feel good about, for the most part, where Kansas City is. Who's going to be there? Baltimore, Philly, Buffalo probably.
Sure, Buffalo.
I would say.
Yeah.
Since he's still got questions in the AFC.
Big questions.
Chargers have a few questions here and there. Broncos relatively set.
Are you serious?
How serious are you? Uh-huh. Then in the NFC, Detroit, I like the roster, but two new coordinators. Who do the coordinators like? Who are they going to want to keep around as those down roster guys? Packers, are they looking to start the season without Jordan Love?
Yeah.
How does that affect them for the first couple weeks of the year? Minnesota breaking in a new quarterback who amplifies J.J. McCarthy the best on top of that really good defense. Arizona, is there another step up in them? Seattle, they just paid Sam Darnold. Who's going to complement him? There's a lot of those teams that have some of those questions that, the top, 30, 40 guys for sure, almost assuredly. But then it's, who are we right now? Who were we last year? Who do we want to be? And, what's changed? What were the big upper level moves that we made? And how do we need to make complementary moves to make those moves work?
Yeah, it's putting a piece to the puzzle. It's like you're on a time clock because the time clock it runs out of time is when the season starts. And obviously the season is its own puzzle. But right now the biggest puzzle you're trying to put together is the magic number of your guaranteed team that you want to go into by that first Wednesday of the first game, right? Unless you're playing Thursday night, then it's obviously a couple days before. Are you a team that isn't looked to replace your bottom 4, 5, 6 because you know that you got the guys that you trained on your practice squad? Or are you a team that always has a revolving door at that lower part of your roster?
You're on the waiver wire.
Right. Like, so that lets me know the Patriots did a little bit of that. But the really good teams are really set. Not that they wouldn't, keep their eye open if there's a, off the radar cut or somebody comes available or somebody becomes healthy or you have a rash of injuries. But those teams will let you know if they're playing dress up as NFL teams or they're actually showing up there to try to play some real football and win a championship. And we just named off teams that are the knowns, but every year you have an unknown. It definitely isn't New Orleans because if you don't have a quarterback, it's not happening. So Cleveland's out of it. What team is going to be the team that maybe takes the big step? It might be Arizona with Pocket Hercules. That defense is young and aggressive. Marvin Harrison Jr., who showed at the end of the season he's the real deal, connecting with Pocket Hercules. Then you got Connor, the running back, the physicalness in the offensive line, and off the radar schedule, you can make some noise. And then I think the other big one is the AFC South. I think people just look, I'm Houston all the way. I just think it's up for grabs.
Oh, it always is.
Yeah.
There's not a dominant team. There's not a perfectly run organization in that entire group. Yeah, the AFC South is pretty much always going to be up for grabs, which, no matter how weak/strong the division was, it makes Indy's run pretty impressive. They were able to stave off mediocrity for that long, but then it looked like it was going to be Houston's.
Yeah.
And they still won it. They got
Sure.
it a couple of years in a row. But Jacksonville popped up there a few years ago. Tennessee was the 1 seed in the AFC, not too long ago.
Yeah.
So, all those teams have had their
run.
moment,
Yeah.
but they haven't been able to sustain it.
Yeah.
Really since, second, third year of Andrew Luck, I think, for the Colts is when it really started going up and down. Because we were supposed to get Deshaun Watson versus Andrew Luck twice a year,
for the foreseeable future,
for 5-10 years down the line. And then maybe that forces Tennessee to up its game or go the opposite way, right? Tannehill, Vrabel, where they were building that way. And whatever Jacksonville gives you is whatever Jacksonville gives you. But not a single one of those franchises has found stability in the better part of the last 7 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it goes from the top down, and you got to have consistency, and you got to have a clear and thought out plan that's executed. And if you don't execute it to your liking, you have to be willing to adjust, and everybody has to be on the same page when you adjust. That's why since we got Kansas City fans everywhere listening, that's what makes Kansas City so dangerous. They haven't changed. They figure like, okay, we got punched in the face. Now we're more motivated. We're gonna get Rice back. We're gonna get Worthy. We're gonna draft well. They got their left tackle now, and that's exactly what Kansas City's done. They got Trey Smith in the 5th round. Got more money out of him based on you got first round talent in the 5th round. We're willing to take on the risk with some like a heart murmur that really wasn't an issue. Then you got Simmons from Ohio State.
Top 10 guy, you got 31.
Got a 31.
Or 32 because you traded with Philly.
Right, so you're getting value, right, just there. So you're upgrading your team, and you're doing it with the salary and by the player. And you want that people wonder why it happens. Just Patrick Mahomes put you in another stratosphere. But it's Andy Reid, it's Brett Veach, it's the Hunt fan. It's everything that they do. It's consistency. It's a clear path, and they know exactly what type of player they want. And they generally take care of the players that they draft or they bring in. But then also they identify good football players.
Yeah,
you got to think with Drew Tranquill. Andy Reid said, "Listen, he was a free agent. Nobody, kind of were looking at him, and he's like, you want to come here? We're gonna give you a chance to play. You want to win Super Bowls? Sign me up." Sounds like Bill Belichick. And you got to think about it. They recognized he was a good player and respected him as a player and waited to the right time to get him.
Yeah.
And then now he was able to, again, it's essentially you drafted him. You drafted a veteran player. You got him at or close to the league minimum with a very, reasonable sign-up bonus on a 1-year prove-it deal. He beat that out. You did it again. And then you rewarded him for the consistency, the production, and the leadership. And that's how you build a franchise. Now, granted, not every team is thinking about it that way because some teams are thinking we need to make a splash. So then therefore we got to try to take some risk on draft picks, some risk on coaches. Or you're like the Cowboys. We like the news cycle more than we like playing good football. So it just kind of depends on where you're at.
I would say the Chiefs have adapted, if not changed, right? They're still doing the same good football business.
Yeah.
But the way it looks now is different than it looked before. And I think that does kind of follow the Patriots model. And that's another team, Jay, that I'm really curious to see if they can climb up to second in the AFC East. I still think you trust Buffalo the most. But how real is the Mike Vrabel effect? How real is a sophomore jump instead of a slump maybe for Drake May with a guy like Stephon Diggs around? I'm not rooting for the Patriots by any stretch of the imagination. Sorry, not sorry to our little Puerto Rican colleague who was. But I am at least intrigued by them, right? I don't think they're going to be bottom of the league bad again. I think the Vrabel effect, I like Drake May, even if I don't love him. I think there's a little bit better going on in the playmaker department. It's going to be a solid defense. I don't think they challenge Buffalo for the top of the East, but I think that they're a legitimate wild card contender.
They're going to be a harder out than they were last year. And I think, Gerard Mayo probably got the short end of the stick, right?
Yeah.
And
not quite David Culley style.
Yeah, but it was close to it. And obviously, Robert Kraft apologized to him, but then obviously compensated him as well. I think the Vrabel effect is real. I think a lot depends on what Drake May does with the weapons around him, right? And that's led by Stephon Diggs. It's Stevenson, the running back, and can they continue to, pound the football? They've drafted well. They put a lot of, money into their offensive line. And so defensively, that they're going to be for real. Vrabel is going to make them be physical. They're going to be really in tune situational football wise. And so they're going to be a tougher out than, in previous years. And so everybody takes notice when Vrabel's coming in. The effect is real. A lot of it depends on the step that Drake May makes and what they do offensively to accentuate his strengths and hide his weaknesses, and then how they. I think the game has changed for Vrabel in the sense of this, and this is a little bit how Brett Bielema came back to the Big Ten. He went to Arkansas, took some time off. Vrabel did the same, obviously, but he got a job right away. But being able to just run, Tannehill throw to the flat, replace special teams, you got to be able to score points. And so that's where the pressure is going to be on to not only play situational football, physical, downhill running game, but then also have Drake May be able to make plays that will allow him to compete with Josh Allen, not play for play, throw for throw, but when the time is right, he's got to make some plays.
Oh, and now you don't have A.J. Brown to throw to.
Right.
Oh, and not handing off to Derrick Henry.
Right.
How are you going to solve that?
Right, and you don't have up-and-coming, ascending Jonathan Simmons, and you don't have Arden Key and all those guys. Now you got other guys that
that you like
acquired in the draft, but then also were there before. But those were some all-pro guys that you just mentioned that went on and continued doing some great things. So the Patriots are going to be a hard out, but more importantly, when you look at the Chiefs and then obviously with the Vikings, I think the Vikings are going to be really interesting, because I felt like they were fool's gold 14-3. I think late in the year, they got a little bit exposed.
Darnold got exposed mostly.
He did, right? I think the moment got really big. But then also I think that the offensive line and the scheme or the play calling wasn't up to snuff. I think the chink in the armor is, remember we talked about it, up in Detroit, they tried to go trick play for trick play, aggressive play for aggressive play, going for it on fourth down more than
they did.
O'Connell had done all year long. And then now you have a rookie quarterback coming in, quarterback coming in.
Yeah.
Talented, first round, still had a lot to, prove and develop because he didn't throw much at Michigan. Great leader, and he won a national championship, but that doesn't mean Tilly Poo in the league. So now that I'm really watching the Vikings and seeing what jumps do they make defensively, even though the Brian Flores, that defense is a hard out, but they're going to have to play defense different if the offense isn't as explosive as it had been in years past.
It's going to be fascinating, too, because J.J. McCarthy comes from, I'm still going to call it a quarterback-friendly system at Michigan.
Yeah.
Harbaugh being a former quarterback, he made J.J. McCarthy's life pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
By putting a great team around him, by not asking him to do too much. And we know that in the NFL, and we've seen, it's true in college, too, but obviously, Jacob Coker has won a national championship. I think J.J. McCarthy's probably better. Yeah, right. They're probably better quarterbacks, or J.J. McCarthy's probably a better quarterback than those guys are. There's going to come a time where J.J. McCarthy's going to need to make a play.
Yeah.
And I think watching the first month of the season for the Vikings versus the middle chunk of the season, and then if they're in playoff contention toward the end, seeing how Kevin O'Connell calls plays, sequences plays, and who he's going to will tell and show you just how much he trusts J.J. McCarthy as a rookie, or maybe on the flip side, how much he's trying to cover for him so it makes him look good where it's in a position for him to handle, but he's putting more weight on an Aaron Jones, on a Justin Jefferson to make the magic instead of,
or
Hawkinson, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then Jordan Addison in there who's suspended. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do up there and how well they start. They got to get out to a good start. Then you can really take off the reins, but they got to play a different style of football along with feeding JJ, Justin or Jefferson Jet. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens throughout the NFL. We're going to take a quick break, come back, give a little bit of thoughts of what Keenan Allen said about Caleb Williams. Jay Foreman, Austin Norman will be right back.
Watch
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Nutrition Authority invites you to check out the all-new Epic Effects. Epic Effects is designed to blast body fat, curb cravings, and provide the smooth energy to get you through the day. Home of free samples and better than internet pricing, Epic Effects can only be found at Nutrition Authority. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
Since 1983, Fast Mike's Roll-Offs has been a trusted and reliable company in Lincoln and the surrounding areas. Fast Mike's handles all sides of construction projects, home renovations, or big cleanouts. With the perfect size dumpster to fit your needs, Fast Mike's Roll-Offs will haul it all. With same-day delivery in Lincoln, affordable rates, and top-notch service, Fast Mike's Roll-Offs make cleanup quick and easy. Call now at 402-450-6828 or visit us online at fastmikesrolloffs.com. Book your dumpster today. Fast Mike's Roll-Offs, cleanup made simple.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. Visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com.
Sartor Heyman Jewelers.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Constructors is now hiring for all positions with pay starting at $23 and up based on experience. Constructors has immediate job openings for mechanics, bridge builders, operators, and drivers. Start your new career today. Constructors offers great pay, health, dental, and vision insurance, paid time off, paid holidays, and so much more. Join the crew today and be a part of Nebraska's oldest paving company dating back to 1908. For a complete list of openings and to apply online, visit constructorslincoln.com.
MHC isn't a new company, just a new name. Moe's Moving is now Moe's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can handle your commercial moves as well. MHC Moving has 0 hidden fees. You'll never pay for same-day booking or be charged for stairs, heavy items, or elevator fees. Rates are the same Monday through Saturday, and you will never pay a truck or fuel surcharge. And they offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
Hi, I'm Eli Barnes, Assistant Vice President at Midwest Bank at the 70th and Pioneers and 27th and Jamie Lane locations. I love working with families and small businesses right here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Banking shouldn't be complicated, and that's why we make it personal. Whether it's opening your child's first account or securing a loan for your next big step, I'm here to help. Stop in today and say hello. I'd love to meet you. Your community, your bank. Midwest Bank, member FDIC.
Lincoln's go-to for fun isn't new. It's a place that's been a staple of the city for years and is only getting better. Matson's Bowling and Billiards always has open bowling available with no long lines, unlike other centers. They have live music almost every weekend and great food at EJ's Bar and Lounge, with seating for 150 people. They have popular meals like the EJ Burger, pizza for the whole family, and famous EJ's Wings. Contact Sarah to book a party for friends, coworkers, or family at Madson's Bowling and Billiards, just south of 48th and Holdridge.
You're listening to Inside the Huddle with Jay Foreman, sponsored by Advanced Medical Imaging.
What up, Jay Foreman, Austin Norman? Quick segment here before we send you off to the weekend, another hot and humid weekend. So make sure you hydrate, and then also make sure you stop at the Mercado locations here in Lincoln, 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, 85th and Audrey. And if you're listening up there in the O, go ahead and go to 168th and Maple. They will hook you up. You have to get your grilling done early. If you got some shade, there is no excuse. But speaking of excuses, Austin, Keenan Allen spoke and talked about Mr. Caleb Williams. He said essentially he's all about himself, and he the whole team to paint their fingernails and talk about it's going to be team bonding. Keenan Williams said, "I'm not here for a fashion show. I'm here to play football."
Good answer, Keenan.
Savage.
I like it.
Yeah, Keenan Allen is the OG because my man has worst receding hairline. He makes Derek White for the Celtics look like he has a full head of hair. But you look, when you have a respected veteran like that, call out a number one pick who came in with some of the knock on him, that he was all about himself. You know, I wouldn't say, you know, the book is already written, but I think it just shows a little bit of immaturity from a quarterback to try to get guys that are 34, 35 years old to paint their fingernails as a team bonding exercise when you probably need to be hanging out with them more and studying your playbook and working on your timing.
It's funny. Christian Wilkins is CW. Caleb Williams is also CW.
Oh.
Maybe there's a connection there, Jay.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm glad my initials aren't that. And the next guy that could be the number one pick or one of the top defensive
Cam
tackles.
Ward, CW.
Oh.
Stay straight, my man.
We're about to see him tonight. Cam Ward's playing his second preseason game. Well, Cam Ward got in a little scrap in training camp, showing that he's not going to back down. He's going to stand on business. So, yeah, I just always thought that was interesting to talk about Caleb Williams. I think sometimes you come in as a rookie. We've seen it with Shedeur Sanders, and I guess they were humbling him, and with Caleb Williams probably got a little bit of pass, coming from USC, and we'll see how the future goes. And one more thing about Shedeur Sanders is funny is that here's what people don't understand about the league, and this is exactly what happened. Sure, he probably, quote unquote, didn't interview it. That's not what happened. Here's what happens. You get guys in the league that have some issues with a player coming in young, rich, famous dad, and anointing yourself legendary. So you have people that are making decisions like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to be one to show you. I'm going to be one to humble you, so forth and so on, and that's how you end up dropping to the fifth round. Obviously, it doesn't matter what happens for the rest of the preseason. He showed he's not a fifth round draft choice. And so if I'm a young player that watched Shedeur, or whether in high school or college, you got to use some of the lessons that he's in right now, and he's obviously exceeding expectations, even though the deck is pretty much sometimes stacked against him. Use it as a learning experience. Learn what to do and what not to do. Because at the end of the day, your number one obligation is to play your best football. But more importantly, since you're getting paid in college, and potentially, who knows, later on down the line, you might get paid in high school. You want to get as much money as you can and earn it, because you will never probably be able to replicate this amount of money in this short a time and this time in your life ever. So stop getting suspended. Stop not showing up places, like Nico, not showing up places you're supposed to. Start treating people as good as possible, and you will get the fruits of your labor, and then you'll probably be able to retire at 22 years old.
Yeah, right. There's room for personality and individuality, because there have to be, but that doesn't mean you don't have to adapt how it's expressed, right? I mean, you can obviously speak this better than I ever could, but they're just, I'm sure, non-negotiables in a locker room where there's a way you handle yourself. There's a way that you can be a professional and still be yourself. I think that speaks to the Caleb Williams thing as well. You want to paint your nails? Do you want to call that team bonding? I mean, not what I would do, but more power to you. But the way you go about inviting your teammates, hey, do you want to? Hey, let's hang out. Hey, I'm going to do this. Are you in? If you're Shedeur, like the whole boombox thing, and maybe some of the veterans take, maybe a little umbrage with that because that's not how they were raised, not the way they would do things. They got to understand, hey, I might not like it, but that's who this kid is. It's gotten him this far. I got to respect it. But then on the flip side of that, just because it got you that far doesn't mean it's the perfect strategy. You're a young professional. Emphasis on both young and professional.
Right.
You got plenty to learn as well. You got to be true to who you are and what got you there, because clearly it's where you're comfortable, and that's going to be, to your benefit. You just can't let it get to the point where it's to your detriment because you're hard-headed and you make it about you, instead of saying, you know what, I can still be myself without doing this one little thing or acting this one little way or responding in this certain way that maybe I've been used to before.
Yeah. Every action doesn't need the same response. That's both in sports, I guess, in politics, in politics and sports, and then also sometimes in life. So anyways, well said there, Austin. With that being said, we're going to sign off. We're going to probably cool off, hopefully. Jay Foreman, Austin Norman, Old School. We'll holler at you next week.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service, bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402